Hey guys, this is Leo here from Winchester. So in the latest Supernatural episode, it seemed on the surface that it's a typical Monster of the Week episode, but it turned out to be much more than that. It's actually a mix of Monster of the Week and mythology, with the mythology part taking over as usual in recent seasons. They rarely ever make pure single Monster of the Week episodes anymore on Supernatural, which is an issue for me because I prefer those episodes to the larger, more convoluted mythology we've been getting over the last several years, particularly since season 8. I believe the last season where we got a decent amount of single Monster of the Week episodes was actually season 7 with the Leviathans. We got a lot of great Monster of the Week episodes in that season. One of them had a demon, which was a rare episode in the season because everything was Leviathan related. We got one about a demon possession, which was really cool. Was kind of like a sick, twisted psycho demon in that episode. I forgot the name of the episode, but this was one of my favorite episodes in the whole season, even more so than the mythology episodes of the season. And overall, season 7 was one of the last great seasons for me that I always rewatch when I'm rewatching a series, and I usually stop at season 7. Don't go beyond that, because season 8 started the whole angels drama and hell and all of that. Not a big fan of that. So in the latest episode, once again, we get Monster of the Week episode, supposedly a Monster of the Week episode, repurposed into a mythology episode. And the monster of the episode, in this case, a Gorgon, I call him a Demigorgon because the guy is a demigod who's also a Gorgon, so I call him a Demigorgon, which reminded me of, Stranger Things, Gorgon, Demigorgon. So that's where the name comes from, nickname I gave him. So the monster Gorgon, he's a demigod who eats human flesh and especially human eyes, and when he does, his eyes turn into snake eyes and he can see the future, whatever sense that makes. Obviously Supernatural modifies their mythology to fit their lore. So, this is not the first time they modify any mythology to work with the show. I found this part very bizarre because the victims of the monster, they couldn't see the future themselves. They weren't like one of those, future tellers or anything. So how could he just randomly eat random people's eyes and he manages to see the future up to a certain extent apparently? Well, like, what is the limit? What are the rules for that monster? Does he see infinite future, or is it just limited to like 1 week, 2 days, 1 hour? Not exactly clear. All we could tell is he could see the boys coming to hunt him shortly after he commits his crime, so it seems like very short-sighted, pun not intended in this case. So again, the main purpose of the monster is really not to just be cool in the episode and be hunted by the boys, but to advance the bigger mythology, and that's exactly what happens in the second part of the episode. So once again, not a true Monster of the Week episode, and just another tool to advance the mythology, as I said. So I'll talk about the first part of the episode first, because it's very different from the second part. It's like 2 different episodes in one, again, because it's supposed to be a Monster of the Week. That is also a mythology, apparently. So I wasn't a big fan of the first half of the episode. Reason for that is it was very crowded. It had Jack, Cass, and Rowena, 3 more characters hunting with the boys, which seemed very odd to me every time it happens. It's not the first time, but it's been happening a lot in recent years. They always lump in someone else with the boys hunting with them. Even guest stars over the Monster of the Week episodes in previous seasons have also been seen hunting with the boys, which kind of ruins the magic for me because the show is about the boys. So as I always say, you should just keep it to the boys, and that's where it's most fun for me. Either the dramatic moments or the Monsters of the Week moments. It's always just about the boys. Always makes the show best, in my opinion. So that's the main reason I didn't like the first part, because it was too crowded with other characters hunting with the boys, and you barely see an interaction between Sam and Dean. It's almost like they're 2 passing ships, literally. They're just talking to other people, barely talking to each other, and they never have a moment to each other. And we've seen Dean with Cass in the episode, Dean with Jack and Cass, Sam and Rowena. They separated them once again, not the first time it happens. They did it before in the episode when they had Sam hunt with Charlie and had Dean hunt with Jack, and it's gonna happen again in the next few episodes left. I don't know what's going on. The guys, Jensen and Jared have different schedules nowadays, much more than ever. They don't have time to film together, or, not have enough screen time together, or whatever. So they all separate them, and I think that's horrible. The worst thing ever showrunners and writers can do. And it's become very heavy-handed this season and very obvious. And I hope they stop that by next season, because it's definitely a big drop in quality every time they separate the boys or insert other characters between them or with them at the same time. It just takes the magic away. And I hope they, stop doing that, because it's really horrible in my opinion. The show is about the boys and should just continue to be just about the boys, and other characters are just supplementary to the boys, and they shouldn't take the focus away from them. I always say that, and nothing changes so far, so I can just keep saying it until it does. But that is the truth. That's how I really feel about it. Not a big fan of the separation of the bros. Alright, so let's jump straight to the part where the boys finally find the monster and they start fighting the monster, and the monster just keeps beating them all very easily, including Jack at first. And he conveniently slams Dean's head against the wall twice, which effectively shakes his cage, mind's cage, was Michael opened later, a few moments later anyway. But yeah, that was very convenient that the monster just threw everyone around, but happened to slam Dean's head specifically against the wall, which is obviously plot convenience to advance the mythology, like I said earlier. The whole purpose of the monster is just actually do that, just advance the mythology. And I almost counted exactly at the halfway mark when this happened, when the boys managed to... Actually, Jack did it. Jack killed the monster. Jack did everything in this episode, guys. He killed the Demigorgon. He killed Michael at the end, which I'm gonna get to later. But the point is, they've been making Jack the hero of the show very often since his introduction last season. That, again, one more way to take the focus away from the boys, just have another super powerful, almost godlike character do everything. And a lot of people are asking, where is Jesse, the Antichrist kid who's half demon, half human from the early seasons? Why did they get rid of him so quickly and haven't brought him back? Well, that's the thing, guys. They get rid of the superpowered characters because if they exist just like God, they'll just, snap their fingers and fix everything, and there wouldn't be a show. The boys, what are the boys doing? What did the boys do in the last night episode? I want you to tell me. They didn't do anything, did they? It's all Jack. Even Castiel, totally useless. He was even affected by a normal poison from demigod, snake poison, just like any basic human. And he's supposed to be a powerful angel. Once upon a time, anyway, he was a powerful angel when he was first introduced in season 4, and all the way till maybe season 6, and then he got a little bit weak in season 7. Was the whole wall from Sam when he transferred the hellish wall to him, but then he got his powers back briefly, and then he got weakened by season 8, was the angel's fall and his grace being stolen, and whatever happened that season, it's like a blur to me, because season 8 and beyond to me honestly is a big blur, because I never rewatched him, because I don't think they're very good. That's why I never rewatch him, so it's a good reason for that. I can tell you much more details about season 1 to 5 that I remember very well. Maybe season 6 and 7 also. Very decent memory of a lot of events in it. But the season I love the most and I rewatch the most are season 1 to 5 for obvious reasons. They are the best seasons. But yeah, there are great moments, throughout the later seasons, but they're individual moments, not the whole season like earlier seasons. You can say season 1 to 5 as a whole were great, but you cannot really say that about season 8 and beyond, at least for me. But anyway, back to the recent episode. Sorry for the slight ramble. So yeah, Cass is totally weakened now, and he can easily be beaten by anyone. Humans, demons, monsters, doesn't really matter. He's just like an everyday human now, apparently. Gets affected by normal poison from a monster. And he wouldn't even be healed by the anti-venom Jack tried to use on him. So yeah, Cass is, like a lot of people saying, are a punching bag now. Not a great look for him, especially compared to the season 4 Cass. Anyway, moving on. So Jack, as I said, does everything. He kills the monster, and we move ahead to the ending of the episode, which was the most exciting part. Nowadays, it's always like the flashy things. It was like big mythical creatures fighting against each other. that's the most exciting things about Supernatural nowadays. It used to be the brotherly moments, the dramatic moments, used to be the fun moments about the brothers fighting to save the world, fighting to save each other, but now it's all about, Archangels and Jack fighting them, and that's unfortunately what the show became at the moment. Big moments are the flashy moments that get us all excited. I'm not saying they're bad. I mean, there are exciting moments, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit for this episode, but you know what? I miss what the show's really about, the brotherly moments and, fighting to save the world and all of that. Even just a single monster episode, season 1 to 3. That's what I miss the most, what I like the most about the show. And I'm gonna keep hoping they bring it back to some capacity at least in the later seasons. But I honestly doubt that will happen. And it's just gonna keep, dragging on the mythology and covering the whole season with it. So getting to the end of the episode, Dean is unconscious. They try to wake him up, nothing. Cass stops Jack from healing him because he doesn't want his soul to keep burning every time he uses his powers, even though he could have easily healed them without any significant, side effects, as we find out later when he does much more bigger thing, and it apparently is fine. It could just be on the surface, which I'm gonna get to at the end of the episode what Jack does with Michael. But anyway, Cass just stops Jack from healing Dean and pretty much give him a speech about humans being mortal and, the significance of life and all of that. Just all BS, in my opinion. Jack could have just healed Dean. And Cass pretty much gives up on Dean, even though he knows Jack could heal him, which is very odd to me and very selfish from Cass because Jack just healed him earlier, and so I know he didn't ask for it, but it happened. But he stopped him from healing Dean, which I found very annoying, and selfish out of Castiel. He's just trying to protect Jack's soul by letting Dean die. Are you serious? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's not even worth it. Because he could heal his soul later if something happens. They always find a way, right? But what are you gonna do about Dean dying or Michael breaking out of his mind or whatever and destroying the world? Because all these possibilities are known to Castiel and still lets him happen just to preserve Jack's soul, apparently. Very weak motivation for me, very selfish out of Cass, and definitely didn't like that. Alright, so we get to the part where Michael apparently escapes Dean's cage when the guys are distracted with other things, and he wakes up freaking out. So before I get to what happens later, what doesn't make sense to me is why did Michael leave Dean's body instead of taking control of him again? Is he just scared Dean will eventually trap him in the box and he couldn't control him anymore, even though he had full hold on him last time? Until the boys went to Dean's mind and trapped him, he could have taken control of Dean, killed everyone who could save Dean, and I guess season is over. But it's TV show logic, of course. Michael is apparently too scared of Dean trapping him forever or killing him or whatever. So instead, he actually gets out of his strongest vessel, which doesn't make any sense, and he decides to go to an inferior vessel instead in the Rowena, and he convinces her to let him in, blah blah blah. And the best part is he kills all of the Apocalypse World hunters who are very boring and annoying and just crowding the bunker more, as if like Cass and Jack weren't enough. We had all the Apocalypse World hunters crowding the boys. So that's a main positive of Michael escaping, which I'm not going to complain about because it led to the Apocalypse World hunters being ended. So thank you, Castiel, eventually, I guess, that you prevented Jack from healing Dean and eventually leading to the killing of all Apocalypse World hunters. That's awesome, so thanks for that. Glad they're gone, so less crowd in the bunker, and hopefully someone burns down the bunker soon at some point so the boys can go back on the road, just two of them, go on motels, hunting monsters just like early seasons. Yeah, that would be awesome. I would definitely love that, so hopefully it happens at some point. Anyway, so Michael takes over Rowena, possesses her, and kills all Apocalypse World hunters, which is awesome, and proceeds to, of course, slowly torture the boys instead of just snapping his fingers and killing him, or even lighting his eyes and killing him. He doesn't even need to snap his fingers. Lucifer does, but Michael is more powerful, can just kill him right away. But, of course, as in any TV show or movie, the heroes just never die, and the villains always talk, and they never do anything. Or you slowly kill the heroes until someone saves them, which is exactly what happens at the end of this episode. So he blinds the boys, and he does the throat thing where he almost crushes their throat, but not really. He just like chokes him essentially, which all the big powerful creatures do. Even in the early great seasons of Supernatural, that's what villains always do. They never just kill the boys, of course, except for rare occasions where they do kill the boys, but we know that Cass will revive them soon or whatever, so they only always kill the boys when it's convenient, of course. In this case, it wasn't convenient for them to kill the boys because it's not as easy to bring him back anymore, even though you could argue that Jack could do it, but he probably doesn't know exactly how to use his powers in this way to revive people. Even when he revived Castiel from the empty, he didn't really do it on purpose, more like he was like desperate and sad, so you know, he doesn't have a full control on his powers really, you can argue, until now. Anyway, so Rowena, aka Michael in Rowena, or Reichel, as someone suggested, I guess it's a good nickname for it, or a stupid name, whatever. Michael Rowena, or Reichel, starts killing the boys slowly and not right away, just like torturing them. And of course Jack steps up and starts using all his soul, I guess in this case, to use his powers to defeat Michael. Michael starts throwing his weird like lightning balls at him. Doesn't really affect him, and Jack proceeds to challenge Michael, tells him he's not a kid anymore, he's the son of Lucifer, he's a hunter, he's a Winchester, in this epic speech, and proceeds to extract Michael out of Rowena in this epic scene. Very powerful. I mean, who else can do that, right? And he gets Michael's essence at the roof of the bunker, and instead of Michael escaping, he holds him at the roof and pretty much burns him to death. At least that's what it seemed, right? We don't know for sure if Michael is really dead, but that's what they're telling us, that's what it seems, that's what Jack said, unless he's lying. That he actually killed Michael, he burned them, we've seen Michael's essence burn, and then we've seen Jack pretty much drink or eat Michael, whatever you want to call it. He drank Michael's essence at the end, restoring his full powers. We see his full wings on display, his glowing Nephilim eyes and all of that, and he tells the boys he's okay, he's himself again with his full powers and everything's fine. And is it really everything is fine? That's what seemed on the surface, but again, Supernatural is never just what you see on the surface. And is it really that easy how Michael got killed off after all what he did all this season and a season of Michael and all of that, and possessing Dean for a second time, his speech about killing God, going after God, his epic speech, all of that, did it really just end this easy? Come on. I mean, gotta be something else behind that, right? Like, just like we thought Michael just left earlier, I mean, we all knew it's not that easy either. This time, supposedly died only in episode 14? That's crazy, right? I mean, we only have 20 episodes this season, but that's still too early for them to just get rid of Michael. I mean, that's just disappointing, right? Disappointing a lot of people in the comments I read. I agree with that. Just seems too easy, and honestly, could just be another trick by Michael and part of him. In my opinion, the grace that Jack swallowed from Michael could somehow bring him back later, and we all know no one ever dies on Supernatural anyway. Even if he did actually die, quote unquote, just like Lucifer died last season, they just go to the empty and they can be revived later, right, when it's plot convenient. But Michael comes from Apocalypse World too. Would that mean that he doesn't belong in the empty? Empty controls all universes or just our universe? Again, not very clear if the empty covers all universes or just ours. So would Michael belong in it, or he wouldn't belong in it? Would there be like a separate branch of the empty for each universe, like Apocalypse World universe? Or it's empty for everything? Not exactly clear where Michael would go if he actually did die this time. He could come back somehow through either, being inside Jack, or he could just be in our empty and be revived later. Depends on the writers want to revive him, or they want to go in a different direction. But yeah, a lot of people are asking, so if Michael is really dead now, so what big bad remains? I mean, I'm gonna say to that is we already knew, if you read the articles from showrunners, that Michael isn't really the big bad this season, so this is not a big surprise to me is that you would end him this early in that sense. I think the possibility is that he's not really dead is still open. But keeping that in mind, The empty could be the big bad because we have a story thread with Castiel. He's gonna come for Castiel when he's happy, which he could be happy right now, you could argue, or towards the finale. And we also know Lucifer is coming back at some point, either before the finale or right in the finale. So the big bads are still, the open spot for big bad is just more than one. We have Lucifer, we have the empty, we even have the possibility of Jack turning evil, because if they told us that Jack using his powers burns pieces of his soul, this means that using all that power to kill Micah's end essentially burned all his soul off, or most of it. So do we have a soulless Jack walking around and faking now, just like Sam did in season 6? But Sam wasn't even that convincing at being soulless, so Jack seems like he has a soul right now. He seems fine. Even the photos we got of episode 16, 2 episodes from now, he seems normal. He's like smiling and, you know, making friends and all of that. If he's soulless, why would he go around making friends, right? So it's a little bit odd that he used all his power and he got all his powers back by drinking Michael pretty much. And he's still normal with his soul intact and everything, which kind of like retcons, if you will. The whole story was like the spell and eating out his soul being like fading away every time he uses his powers. Writers just keep coming up with storylines and never following through with them. It's nothing new in Supernatural, I know, but it's just getting worse in recent seasons. And the whole thing was Billy telling Dean that the only ending in the book for him right now is him either going into the box or Michael breaks out and destroys the world. As usual, Billy just says BS and never comes true, just like how she said to Sam in season 11 in her introduction as a Reaper that, oh, she's gonna make a mistake and throw the boys in the empty if they die, because she really hates him apparently. And she told him nothing comes back from the empty. And obviously we got like 2 or 3 seasons later, in season 13, Castiel promptly comes back from the empty, and now we have Lucifer waking up in the empty. We all know he's gonna come back to our world soon, so there you go. 2 things already, 1 came back and 1 coming back from the empty. Billy's words literally mean nothing on the show. Like when people say, oh, it's written that Sam will kill Rowena, right? So yeah, what I argue is this could just mean the final death of Rowena, because she died 2 times already when Lucifer killed her and she came back anyway. Everyone comes back on this show, as we all know. So Rowena could die by other means until her final death by Sam. But at the same time, don't take Billy's word very seriously, because she's not very reliable, evidently. So yeah, I laugh at those comments and I cringe at them, to be honest, when someone says, Billy said this, Billy said that as an argument. Yeah, doesn't really mean anything to me that Billy said something, because whatever she says, just the opposite of it happens pretty much since her introduction. Yeah, as a lot of people say, I miss the old Death, who was epic and actually meaningful, whatever he says. He talked about the darkness being released if, you know, Dean's mark gets taken away, and it's exactly what happened in season 10 finale when Amara got released and became the main villain season 11. So old death meaningful, new death meaningless. That's the moral of the story pretty much. But the last thing I want to talk about is in the penultimate episode of Supernatural, supposedly called Jack in the Box. So this could be a serious hint that Michael's story is not over, that somehow still survived inside Jack, and Jack might need to jump in the box to trap him. So does this mean that the season will somehow end with one of the cliffhangers of Jack being trapped in the box and needing saving for next season? Or this will be resolved in the finale, because this supposedly would happen in episode 19, or will be hinted at in episode 19, called Jack in the Box. And it could be resolved in the finale, or they could drag it out to the finale and then have the boys save him in season 15, along with the empty storyline taking place, Lucifer coming back and all of that. Could be multiple cliffhangers, essentially. So what do you guys think of all the craziness that happened in this episode, all the inconsistencies, all the issues, and epic scene at the end, which I can agree with you was an epic, you know, badass scene, everything. But all the inconsistencies, all the things Billy says and never comes true, the whole book thing with Dean's ending, the whole nothing comes back from the empty, but everyone just comes back from the empty apparently. What do you think will happen with Michael? Is he really dead? Or will he still appear toward the season finale? Let me know down below in the comments your thoughts. Subscribe for more awesome Supernatural content. Till next time, as always, no chick flick moments.
Awesome. That's awesome. Right. Right. Come on.
You know what? You're awesome.
Thanks. You too, I guess.